Warriors fans, take a deep breath, because the idea flooding every timeline right now is almost too wild to believe. A rumor so loud that it feels like the whole Bay is echoing the same thought, that Nikola Vučević in a Golden State jersey is not just a fantasy from a trade machine but something that insiders are whispering about as practically done. And you can almost hear the roar at Chase Center every time people imagine this skilled big man stepping onto the hardwood with the logo of the bridge on his chest. As the story drifts through podcasts, late-night shows, and that endless scroll of social media posts, the buzz keeps growing that the Warriors front office may have finally found the answer to the long-standing cry for a true offensive center, and the name attached to that dream is Nikola Vučević, a big man with soft hands, a smooth jumper, and the kind of inside-out game that could completely change the way defenses are forced to guard Golden State. Every era of Warriors basketball has been defined by a bold move, and fans are already talking about this possible arrival of Vučević as the next big swing, the type of move that takes a team from dangerous to terrifying, because imagining the spacing, the passing lanes, and the two-man actions with Stephen Curry curling around screens set by a skilled shooting big feels like drawing up a video game lineup rather than talking about something that could actually happen. In barbershops, sports bars, and group chats all over the Bay, people are arguing about what this rumored deal would mean, with some saying it signals an aggressive win-now approach and others insisting it is the natural evolution of a dynasty refusing to fade quietly, and both sides keep circling around the same picture in their minds. Vučević setting a high screen while Curry reads the floor and the defense panics because every option suddenly looks bad. The most exciting part of this whole swirl of speculation is not just the idea of adding another star-level player, but the fit, because Vučević is not a traditional back-to-the-basket center who clogs the lane and kills spacing. He is a modern big who can stretch the floor, pass out of the post, hit from mid-range, and even knock down shots from beyond the arc, which perfectly matches the Warriors' philosophy of constant movement, reads, and counters. Opposing defenses have already spent years having nightmares trying to chase Curry off screens, deal with the gravity he generates without the ball, and somehow stay attached to shooters in the corners, and now the rumor of Vučević joining the mix adds another layer of fear, because a big man who can pop instead of only roll, who can punish switches in the post without stalling the offense, is exactly the kind of weapon this system has been missing. There is a certain electricity in the air whenever a rumor like this gains momentum, and Warriors fans know the pattern by heart: cryptic posts from players, vague smiles from front office executives in interviews, national reporters dropping careful hints that talks have progressed further than anyone expected. And suddenly everyone is combing through press conferences and plane tracking apps trying to guess whether Vučević has already had his first quiet visit to the Bay. The idea of Vučević walking through the tunnel at Chase Center for the first time in a Warriors warm-up sends chills down the spine of anyone who loves this team, because it represents more than a roster upgrade. It symbolizes a front office that refuses to waste a single remaining year of Curry at his peak, a commitment to surrounding the franchise cornerstone with all the help he needs to keep Golden State in the championship conversation. What makes this potential move so intoxicating is the combination of skill sets, because Vučević is not just a scorer, he is a high-level rebounder who can control the glass on both ends, and for a Warriors squad that has sometimes struggled to finish defensive possessions, adding a big who vacuums up misses and ignites fast breaks with quick outlet passes might be the difference between close heartbreaks and comfortable wins. When people break down tape of Vučević, they see a player who thrives in pick-and-pop situations, who can slip screens, who understands angles, and who rarely looks rushed with the ball in his hands, and when you overlay that film onto the Warriors' offense, with its split cuts, backdoor actions, and constant relocations by shooters, the possibilities seem almost unfair to anyone trying to build a defense against that combination. Imagine the first time Curry drives off a Vučević screen, draws two defenders, and then simply dumps the ball back to a wide-open big at the top of the key, and instead of forcing a wild shot at the rim or kicking to a tightly contested shooter, the possession flows into a clean jumper from a big man who hits that shot with confidence, and you can feel the crowd rise before the ball even reaches the net because they know what is coming. For years, Warriors fans have dreamed of pairing the motion-heavy system with a big who can genuinely score from anywhere on the court, and Vučević fits that dream almost perfectly, because he is comfortable on the low block, can take a mid-range fade, steps out for threes, and makes quick reads as a passer, which means the ball would never have to stick just because it touched the hands of the center. In the current landscape of the league, where size and versatility are becoming more and more important, the idea of bringing in someone like Vučević feels like a statement that the Warriors are not content to rely solely on shooting and small lineups, but are ready to blend the old identity of pace and space with a new layer of physicality and interior presence that can stand up to the biggest frontcourts in the conference. You can already picture the matchups in your head: Vučević battling against the elite big men of the conference in the paint while Curry dances on the perimeter, and instead of feeling outmanned inside, the Warriors would finally have a center who can stand toe-to-toe with anyone, not just by being bigger, but by being smarter, more skilled, and capable of punishing every defensive mistake with a soft touch around the rim or a jumper from the elbow. Fans remember all the nights when second chance points doomed the team, when a missed box out or a lost rebound turned a winnable game into a frustrating defeat, and that memory is what fuels the excitement around the possibility of Vučević arriving, because controlling the boards is one of his calling cards, and with him securing misses, the Warriors could get back to what they do best: running, spacing, and raining jumpers in transition. It is not just the on-court impact that has people talking either, because Vučević has a reputation as a calm, professional presence in the locker room, someone who shows up, works hard, and brings stability, and for a Warriors group that has experienced its share of emotional highs and lows over the years, adding a steady veteran voice could be just as valuable as adding another 15 to 20 points per night. The narrative practically writes itself for national television, the dynasty that revolutionized basketball retooling on the fly by adding a highly skilled big man who has quietly put up impressive numbers throughout his career, and analysts are already drawing comparisons to some of the great inside-outside duos of the past, wondering aloud on air whether this rumored pairing of Curry and Vučević could become one of the most unguardable combinations in the league. In the digital age, where every rumor can explode into a trending topic within minutes, the talk about Vučević and the Warriors has fed algorithm after algorithm, sending fans into a frenzy as they react with memes, mock-ups of Photoshop jerseys, and speculative starting lineups, and each new post only adds fuel to a fire that is burning brighter every time a new insider hints that the talks are active and serious. Some fans are already picturing how this move would help extend the prime of Curry, because with a scoring big beside him, the offensive load could be shared more evenly, allowing the superstar guard to pick his spots, conserve energy at times, and unleash his full arsenal in the moments that matter most, whether that is late in a tight game or deep into a grueling playoff run. From a tactical viewpoint, the coaching staff would suddenly have a whole new menu of options, from high-low actions to inverted pick and rolls, where Vučević initiates from the top and Curry or another guard cuts and screens, bending defenses in ways they are not used to seeing from a Warriors offense that already gives scouting departments headaches around the league. The emotional side of this rumor cannot be ignored either, because for a fan base that has tasted championships and suffered through heartbreaking injuries and tough exits, the mere idea of such a significant reinforcement rekindles that feeling of possibility, that buzz in the building that says anything can happen when the crowd rises and the team goes on one of those classic, unstoppable runs. Opposing fan bases are already reacting with a mix of respect and frustration, because they know what it means when a franchise with a history of smart, forward-thinking moves circles a player like Vučević, and the thought of having to deal with both the greatest shooter in history and a versatile, scoring big in the same lineup is enough to make any rival dread the next meeting with Golden State. If this rumor becomes reality, the concept of the so-called death lineup would take on a new twist, because instead of always going small, the Warriors could roll out a version of their closing five that still spaces the floor while adding legitimate size and rebounding, and that duality, the ability to shift from finesse to power without sacrificing tempo, could be what separates them from other contenders. In a league where versatility is the currency of championship teams, Vučević fits perfectly into the modern mold of a big who can do a bit of everything, and when you imagine him surrounded by high IQ teammates who excel at reading and reacting, it is easy to see him thriving, cutting backdoor when defenders overplay shooters, sealing smaller players in the paint after switches, and making quick kick-out passes to the corner when the double team arrives. The relationship between Curry and any big man has always been crucial, and fans are already imagining the chemistry he could build with Vučević, with countless reps in practice turning into a near telepathic connection on the court, where a simple glance or subtle movement of the shoulders is enough to signal a backdoor cut, a flare, or a slip screen that catches the defense completely off balance. There is also the question of how this move would impact the younger players on the roster, because learning from a seasoned interior scorer who has seen every type of defense and every kind of coverage would be invaluable, giving the developing bigs a living example of footwork, patience, and composure, traits that are often the difference between surviving and thriving in the league. When people talk about Vučević, they often mention his scoring, but his passing cannot be overlooked, because he has shown the ability to find cutters, hit shooters in stride, and execute dribble handoffs with precision, and that is exactly the kind of skill set that can amplify what the Warriors already do so well with split actions and motion that rely on the ball moving quickly to the open man. The ripple effects of such an acquisition would be felt all over the roster, because having a reliable option inside would mean that role players no longer feel the pressure to create above their comfort level, instead sliding into cleaner roles where they can focus on defense, hustle, and knocking down open shots created by the gravity of Curry on the perimeter and Vučević in the paint. Fans have not forgotten the times when the offense bogged down in the half-court, especially in playoff series where physical teams were able to chase shooters off the line and force tough, contested attempts late in the shot clock, and that memory is part of why this rumor feels so important, Because a big with the ability to get a quality look near the rim or from mid-range at any time can serve as a safety valve when everything else is taken away. In those tense moments when the game slows down, when every possession feels like it might decide the season, having a player like Vučević to throw the ball to, someone who will not panic, who will take his time, read the floor, and then make the right move, could be exactly what keeps the Warriors' offense from ever truly stalling out against elite defenses. The storyline also appeals to fans who respect the grind, because Vučević is not a flashy, highlight-seeking star. He is more of a blue-collar scorer who has polished his game year after year, and that mentality fits perfectly with a franchise that has built its culture on unselfishness, fundamentals, and an almost obsessive attention to detail in the way they practice and prepare. This is the kind of rumor that keeps talk shows busy for days, with hosts debating whether adding a big man of this profile would make the Warriors favorites again, whether it reopens the championship window or simply props it up for a few more years, and every passionate argument on those shows only mirrors the conversations happening among fans across the world who bleed blue and gold. Social media detectives are already at work analyzing every piece of content they can find, from old quotes where Vučević praised Curry and the Warriors' style, to follow patterns on platforms, to any tiny hint that might suggest mutual interest, and every time someone thinks they have uncovered a clue, the fan base erupts in a fresh wave of excitement and speculation. There is something poetic about the idea of a skilled big choosing to join a team that has reshaped the modern game, because it represents a merging of eras, a bridge between the traditional value of inside scoring and the revolutionary perimeter-heavy approach that the Warriors helped create, and fans cannot help but imagine how that blend might produce a new style of beautiful, efficient basketball. The coaching staff, in every fan fantasy, is already drawing up new plays on whiteboards, imagining horn sets with Vučević at the elbow, Curry darting around screens, and shooters spaced along the arc, all while defenders whiplash between helping inside and racing back out to the perimeter, constantly a step behind a team that prides itself on being 2 reads ahead. The potential impact on the fan experience inside the arena is also huge, because every time Vučević would touch the ball in the post or pop out for a jumper, the crowd would hold its breath, knowing they are watching a new dimension of the offense take shape, and the noise after each make would only reinforce to him that he chose a place where his skills are deeply appreciated. From a narrative standpoint, the idea of Vučević chasing the ultimate goal of a championship by joining a battle-tested core is compelling, because it fits the classic sports story of a talented player who has produced quietly for years finally getting the chance to shine on the biggest stage, under the brightest lights, with the whole world watching when the playoffs roll around. For the Warriors, a move like this would signal absolute seriousness about the present, a declaration that they are not saving moves for later, that they are committed to maximizing every remaining season of Curry leading this team, and that urgency resonates with fans who do not want to look back someday and wonder whether the franchise did everything possible to keep the dynasty alive. Rivals would have to adjust their game plans in major ways, because packing the paint against drives would no longer be safe if Vučević can consistently knock down open looks, and switching smaller defenders onto him would become risky if he punishes that mismatch down low, forcing coaches to choose between giving up threes or giving up interior buckets. In a league built on spacing, the combination of Curry and Vučević could stretch defenses to their absolute breaking point, because one lives beyond the arc and the other lives in the space between the arc and the paint, and together they would make it almost impossible for opponents to comfortably double either one without leaving a dangerous shooter or cutter wide open. The rumor also has a personal side, as fans think about how life in the Bay might appeal to Vučević and his family, with a vibrant community, the passionate fan base, the culture of the organization, and the chance to play meaningful games late in the season, all of which combine into a very attractive situation for a veteran who has already proven his individual talent and now wants to chase something bigger. Teammates would likely welcome him with open arms, recognizing that having a big who can take pressure off the perimeter players and anchor certain offensive sets makes life easier for everyone, and that kind of mutual benefit is exactly what front offices look for when deciding whether to push hard to finalize a blockbuster move. Even in the realm of pure imagination, fans can already hear the chants echoing inside Chase Center, the crowd erupting after a pick-and-pop 3 from Vučević, then exploding again when Curry hits a deep shot on the next possession, and that energy, that sense that every trip down the floor could end with something spectacular, is what creates the unforgettable memories that define an era. There is also the defensive side to consider, and while Vučević is not known as an elite shot blocker, his size, positioning, and rebounding can still make a serious difference, especially when combined with the team defense principles that the Warriors have drilled for years, where everyone is on a string and help rotations arrive not a moment too late. By securing defensive rebounds and ending possessions, Vučević would feed directly into the transition game that has always been a key weapon for Golden State, turning stops into fast breaks, where wings streak down the floor, Curry trails for threes, and the crowd swells with anticipation every time the ball changes ends quickly after a strong board. The front office, in this swirling rumor, is portrayed as bold and proactive, reading the landscape of the league, recognizing that the window for championships never stays open forever, and deciding that now is the moment to act, that adding a high-level big who fits both the style and the timeline of the core is the kind of move that separates aggressive franchises from cautious ones. Cap experts and analysts are already running through the possibilities of how such a move could be structured, talking about contracts, exceptions, and trades, but for fans, the granular details matter far less than the end result, because what they care about most is seeing a player of Vučević level standing next to Curry during introductions, ready to go to battle in front of a sea of blue and gold. In many ways, this rumor serves as a reminder of how quickly the narrative around a team can change, because the same people who were worrying about age, injuries, and roster construction are now daring to imagine a refreshed, reloaded Warriors group with a new star in the frontcourt, ready to silence doubters and reignite fear across the league. The excitement is not blind either, because fans remember how previous bold moves have reshaped the franchise, and they know that when the Warriors choose to be aggressive, they often do so with a clear vision and a smart plan, which gives them confidence that if they are really chasing Vučević, it is because they see a blueprint where his strengths amplify everything the team already does well. Seeing Vučević in this system, even if only in the mind for now, is enough to spark endless debates about lineup combinations, with fans imagining him alongside different wings, pondering who would benefit most from his screening and passing, and which defensive assignments he would take in key moments against rival stars. The broader league picture also shifts in these conversations, as fans try to guess how other contenders would react, whether a move of this magnitude would trigger countermoves elsewhere, setting off another wave of transactions as teams scramble to keep up with a Warriors squad that refuses to slide quietly into the background. Beyond the analysts, the people whose opinions matter most are the fans themselves, and their reaction has been a mixture of pure excitement and cautious hope, because while they know nothing is official until it is announced, they also understand that where there is sustained smoke like this, there is often at least a spark of real fire behind the scenes. For young fans who did not live through the early days before the dynasty, the idea of adding another star-level player like Vučević is just the latest chapter in a story that has always seemed full of magic, while older fans who remember the leaner years see it as a reward for their patience and a sign that the franchise is determined never to return to irrelevance. Even neutral observers are intrigued by the basketball fit, because the combination of an elite shooting guard surrounded by wings and a high skill center has often produced historically great offenses, and when you plug those archetypes into a system as innovative as the Warriors, it is easy to imagine numbers and highlights that would dominate nightly recaps. The rumor also puts a spotlight back on the coaching brilliance that has been a staple of the Warriors' run, because giving creative minds more tools often leads to new wrinkles in the playbook, fresh sets that opponents have never seen before, and that element of surprise can be the difference in tight playoff series where every possession is scouted and contested to the extreme. Fans are already picturing playoff series where Vučević punishes smaller lineups that tried to switch everything against Curry, forcing opposing coaches to abandon their preferred schemes and adjust on the fly, while the Warriors calmly shift from perimeter-heavy attacks to inside-out offense, always staying one move ahead like a master chess player setting up a checkmate. From a storytelling viewpoint, there is something deeply satisfying about the possibility of a player like Vučević writing a new chapter of his career alongside a legendary core, because it feels like a joining of paths, a merging of ambitions where both sides are chasing the same ultimate prize and are willing to adjust, sacrifice, and push each other to reach it. The cultural fit also matters, and everything about the way Vučević carries himself on the court, focused, composed, rarely rattled, suggests that he would mesh well with a team that has built its identity on joy, unselfishness, and a calm belief that no deficit is insurmountable as long as they keep playing the right way. This is why the rumor refuses to die down, because it simply makes too much sense on too many levels, and every time someone tries to dismiss it, another report or another whisper surfaces to keep the conversation alive, sending Warriors fans back into that familiar emotional space between hopeful anticipation and anxious waiting. In the end, what pulls the fan base together around talk of Vučević is the feeling that another special run could be possible, that adding a big with his talent and experience might be the spark that turns a good season into a great one, or a promising roster into a truly dangerous contender that nobody wants to see in a 7-game series. Until anything is official, all the fan base can do is imagine, dream, and debate, but sometimes those dreams are powerful, because they give people a shared vision to rally around, something to talk about on the way to work, in classrooms, at family gatherings, and in every corner of the city where the Warriors' colors are proudly worn. If the front office ultimately pulls the trigger and brings Vučević to the Bay, the city will erupt in celebration, social media will explode with reactions, and every television and radio show will pivot to analyze the move. But even if it remains only a rumor, it has already accomplished something important by reminding everyone just how hungry this fan base still is for greatness. For now, Chase Center remains a place of speculation and anticipation, with fans walking past the team store and imagining a new jersey hanging on the racks, picturing kids asking their parents for the latest number bearing Vučević name, and feeling that familiar mix of nostalgia for past triumphs and excitement for what might still be ahead. The idea of seeing Vučević and Curry working together in crunch time, one setting a screen, the other making defenders choose between an open jumper or an easy roll to the rim, has already become a recurring fantasy for fans who fall asleep imagining the sound of the crowd roaring after yet another perfectly executed play. In every corner of the league, people are listening closely to any update on this story, because they know that if the Warriors succeed in adding a player of this caliber, the entire competitive balance could shift, forcing coaches, players, and front offices everywhere to rethink their strategies for dealing with the blue and gold wave. For the fans in the Bay, though, it always comes back to something simple: the love of beautiful basketball, the joy of watching a team that plays with flair, intelligence, and heart, and the belief that a player like Vučević could take that beauty to an even higher level by adding a new brushstroke to the masterpiece that the Warriors have been painting for years. This rumor has already given rise to countless hypothetical highlight reels in the minds of supporters, from pick-and-pop threes at the top of the arc to slick high-low passes and tough finishes through contact, and every imagined play reinforces the sense that this potential partnership is not just exciting but genuinely transformative. The possible mentorship dynamics are also appealing, because younger bigs would be able to watch how Vučević uses his footwork, angles, and timing instead of relying solely on athleticism, learning lessons that could shape their development long after his playing days in the Bay eventually come to an end. At the same time, Curry and the veteran core would benefit from having someone they can trust to carry the scoring load on nights when shots are not falling, a steady option who can keep the offense afloat and prevent the kind of cold stretches that sometimes cost the team winnable games in past seasons. Even the aesthetics of the game would change, as the Warriors' offense becomes less predictable, shifting seamlessly between guard-led action and big-led sets, always keeping defenders off balance and giving fans an ever-expanding variety of plays to enjoy and analyze after each game. The excitement around this rumor says a lot about how much the Warriors still matter to the league conversation, because any hint that they might be loading up again triggers immediate reactions from coast to coast, with fans of other teams either dreading the resurgence or secretly admiring the ambition behind such a bold move. In that sense, the talk about Vučević is almost a celebration of what the franchise has built, because players of his caliber do not get linked seriously to just any team. They gravitate toward organizations with stability, vision, and a real chance to compete for the ultimate prize, all qualities that Golden State has come to embody. If the story ends with Vučević taking the floor in a Warriors uniform, it will feel to many fans like the payoff of weeks of dreaming and debating, a reward for belief and patience, and the beginning of a fresh chapter that could hold more unforgettable nights at Chase Center filled with noise, energy, and shared joy. If the story instead fades away, with Vučević staying where he is or choosing a different destination, it will still have left its mark by showing that the Warriors are in the market, that they are willing to explore every avenue to improve, and that their ambition has not dimmed even as the years have passed since the first title run. In the meantime, fans will keep refreshing their feeds, listening closely to every interview, and reading between the lines whenever a reporter mentions front office activity, because they know that in this league, big moves often come suddenly, announced in a simple post that instantly changes everything. The vision of Vučević catching the ball at the elbow, turning, and seeing Curry flying off a screen on one side while a cutting wing slashes in from the other has become one of those daydreams that fans replay in their minds over and over, refining every detail, from the angle of the pass to the exact moment the crowd rises to its feet. Those daydreams are part of what it means to live and breathe this team, to follow every whisper and every hint, to believe that the next big move might be just around the corner, and that one transaction could be the spark that lights up another unforgettable run through the playoffs. As the days pass and the rumor continues to swirl, the anticipation builds, and every small update, every new piece of commentary, feels like one more step along a path that could end with Vučević stepping onto the floor in front of a roaring home crowd wearing Warriors colors for the first time. Until that moment comes, whether in reality or only in the imagination, fans will hold on to the hope that their franchise can once again surprise the basketball world, that the front office will find a way to stack yet another star beside the legend who has defined this era, and that together they will push for one more climb to the top of the mountain. In the heart of every Warriors supporter, the rumor of Nikola Vučević joining the team has already planted a seed of possibility, and whether it grows into a towering reality or remains a vivid dream, it has reminded everyone why they care so deeply, why they cheer so loudly, and why they will always be ready for whatever bold move comes next from the team that changed basketball forever. Media outlets around the league are already gaming out how they would cover the first press conference if Vučević ever sits at that podium with a Warriors backdrop behind him, predicting quotes about unselfish basketball, about the chance to chase a title, and about how playing with someone like Curry was too special an opportunity to pass up. For storytellers, that introductory moment would be pure gold, a chance to draw connections between his journey so far and the storied history of Golden State, framing his arrival as the latest twist in a saga that has captured the imagination of basketball fans across the world for more than a decade. Inside the locker room, the addition of a player with that level of offensive skill would likely spark friendly competition, with teammates pushing each other to new heights in practice, testing out new actions, and building the kind of trust and chemistry that only comes from long hours spent working side by side. The coaching staff would have the luxury of staggering minutes in creative ways, ensuring that at almost all times, either Curry or Vučević is on the floor to stabilize the offense, giving the team a safety blanket against dry spells and making it harder for opponents to take advantage of bench-heavy lineups. For fans who obsess over the tactical side, the film sessions after games would become even more fascinating, as analysts break down the interplay between perimeter and interior threats, highlighting subtle screens, clever slips, and the nuanced timing that transforms good sets into great ones. On the road, the Warriors would once again become a must-see attraction, with opposing arenas filling up with fans eager to witness the combination in person, knowing that on any given night they might see a scoring explosion sparked by the inside-outside rhythm that Vučević could help create. Broadcasters would refine new catchphrases and visual graphics to showcase the partnership, tracking how many points come directly from actions involving Vučević and Curry, and using each highlight as a launching point to explain why this rumored duo has the potential to be one of the most entertaining in the game. Meanwhile, young players around the world who study the Warriors' style would start to incorporate elements of Vučević game into their own, practicing pick and pop jumpers, elbow passes, and patient post moves, inspired by the way a skilled big can thrive alongside dynamic guards in a modern offense. The front office, if this rumor ever becomes real, would likely view the move not just as a short-term push but as a bridge between eras, a way to stay competitive now while also giving younger talent a model of how to blend fundamentals with versatility in order to carve out long careers at the highest level. For the city, the excitement goes beyond wins and losses, because a new star presence draws more attention, fuels local businesses on game days, brings more eyes to community initiatives, and deepens the bond between the team and the people who pack the arena or gather in sports bars to watch together. Every major Warriors move has come with an adjustment period where the team experiments, learns, and sometimes stumbles before reaching its full potential, and fans discussing Vučević know that even in the fantasy version, there would be growing pains, but those same fans trust that the basketball IQ of the core would speed up that process dramatically. This trust in the organization is a crucial part of why the rumor resonates so strongly, because people believe that if the Warriors decide to fully pursue Vučević, it will be because they have a clear plan, backed up by extensive analysis and a deep understanding of how his strengths align with their long-term vision. As the chatter continues, the line between dream and possibility blurs, and fans find themselves checking headlines multiple times a day, half expecting to see that an alert has finally confirmed what they have been imagining for weeks, that Nikola Vučević is on his way to the Bay to become the newest member of the Warriors family. Until such an announcement arrives, every tiny sign, every vague quote from players and coaches about being willing to evolve and add new pieces, is magnified, dissected, and woven into the larger story that the fanbase is collectively telling itself about what the future might hold. At the core of that story is a simple belief, that pairing an elite shooting guard with a highly skilled big man in a system built on movement and unselfishness can produce basketball that is not only successful but breathtaking to watch, the kind of play that turns casual viewers into devoted followers. In that sense, the rumor about Vučević is not just about one player, one season, or one transaction. It is about faith in a philosophy, in the idea that smart, connected, team-first basketball will always find a way to rise, especially when it is powered by stars who are willing to share the spotlight. The Warriors have already shown the world what is possible when talent, vision, and work ethic come together, and fans dreaming about Vučević see his potential arrival as the next evolution of that journey, another opportunity to push the boundaries of how the game is played and understood. As long as the rumor lives, so does the hope that something extraordinary might be on the horizon, that a new chapter filled with fresh highlights, unforgettable comebacks, and championship-level performances could be only one bold decision away from becoming reality in the Bay. And whether this story ends with a breaking news alert or simply drifts into the long list of what-if scenarios that fans love to revisit, it has already done what rumors do best. It has united the fan base in conversation, in anticipation, and in a shared love for a team that still inspires big dreams. In the final analysis, the talk of Nikola Vučević joining the Warriors is about more than contracts and cap sheets. It is about the enduring belief that greatness can always be renewed, that the right addition at the right time can change everything, and that somewhere in the overlap between rumor and reality, the next unforgettable moment in Warriors history might already be waiting to emerge.